What are some stupid mentalities and mindsets that need to end? That if you get called out for your bullshit, everyone's a hater. That if I change my mind or opinion about something, I'm being fake or phony. Climate change is not weather. Just because it's -10 degrees doesn't mean it's a hoax. Some people think that just because a person looks normal, they don't have a disability and must be lying. Just because I'm young doesn't mean I don't need sufficient sleep. Just because I'm young doesn't mean I spend all of my money recklessly and need to work overtime every weekend. Just because I'm young doesn't mean I don't want to relax at home on my time off. I hear a lot of sit at work because I work with mostly older people. I budget my money wisely, and in a sense I also budget my time. Apparently those concepts are hard to understand. I can't change anything, so I'm not going to try it. If you don't like someone, you must be just jealous. No days off. Sometimes you need a mental health day or a break. And people make it sound like if you don't work yourself into the ground you won't be successful. Successful people know when to recharge. Just an annoying mindset. Alcoholism being romanticized. No. It's pretty terrible, to be honest. I feel like shit today. I want to stop drinking, but I know I'm gonna drink more today. That you need to stay in contact with all of your family members even though some of them are incredibly toxic. That we should have unconditional love for our relatives. Breach. If you hurt me enough, why should I even like you? I'm being persecuted when I am contradicted. My opinion is as good as your evidence. The concept that both fault and responsibility can only be 100% or 0%, and that if someone else has some fault it absolves another of all responsibility. People who oppose good things because I struggled through it and so should you, instead of thinking, good, nobody should go through that if possible. Expecting everything instantly. Patience is a virtue. You're not going to die if you have to wait in line. If you don't post about a tragedy or support something on social media, you are okay with or don't support, care about said something. Absolute cancer. If something doesn't work 100% of the time, it isn't worth doing. People use this as an excuse to never do anything, or to deny others from trying. It's frustrating and holds us back as a species. Edited for explanation and to add quotes. I read about it on the internet. Therefore it's true. My grandma does this all the time to prove her argument, and it always ends up being from some BuzzFeed article. Drives me frocking nuts. That if you are a salaried employee and don't finish your work on time, you have to work unpaid overtime until it's complete. But if at another time, you complete all of your work early and there's literally nothing left to be done, you're not allowed to leave and instead have to sit at your desk doing nothing until you get in your 40 hours for the week. Employees should either be paid to have their ass in a seat for 40 hours, no more, no less, or be paid to complete a certain set of work regardless of whether it takes 30 hours or 50 hours. This BS double standard that you're paid to complete a task, not for a certain number of hours when there's extra work, but are paid to be there for a certain number of hours. Not to complete a task then leave when there's less work needs to end. If you're not 100% with us, you're 100% against us. You're entitled to speak your mind. You're not entitled to have people listen, comply, or care. There is this whole work culture expectation now of always being reachable by email or text for whatever happens. A lot of places expect, and at times demand, that you be pretty much on call even when you're not at the office anymore. I worked at an ad agency where days off sometimes didn't even feel like that, because I would still be getting emails about things and was expected to be checking them. I hated it. There should be some level of balance between work and personal life, and I feel like that is fading because so many places are adapting this type of culture and mentality, especially startups. If you don't listen to every song or know everything about a band, you are not a real fan. Stop comparing traumas. It's not a frocking competition. Learn to have empathy and take care of each other's mental health. Assuming that people are not allowed to change their opinions or values over time. And judging people, famous or not, for comments made decades ago. Yes, some people have patterns of problematic comments and behavior and should not be ignored. But it also makes sense that, for example, a politician may have learned more about abortion or healthcare or what have you and be able to change their stance. We are not the same people at 25 and 50. Broadcasting everything in social media. That anything but perfection is a failure. Progress is often incremental and takes time. When people post their opinion about something on social media and then say they don't want a debate, people who disagree will be unfriended, etc., I usually save them the step and delete them. But it still freaks me out that people are that unwilling to disagree, discuss, learn, etc. Everybody that doesn't get along with you or agree with you is toxic. People are starting to expect being around nobody but people that agree with them, like a constant feedback bubble on social media. But in real life, the customer is always right. Telling kids, especially young girls, that others only pick on them because they're jealous of them or fancy them, that is how you teach your kids that people abuse you because they like you. It needs to stop. That if someone holds a particular belief, they must hold the most extreme possible version of that belief. The view that you're good enough the way you are. I know that may sound strange, but no one's perfect and we can all change ourselves in a positive ways. This mindset does have its correct uses, such as coming out of an abusive relationship, but more and more I'm seeing it used to justify staying a worse person than who you could be. Edit. Thank you for my first gold and silver. I can fix this person who has hurt me many times. That people can be absolute jerks to others just because they have money or social media followers. If you can't handle me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. Sometimes someone's worst is an absolute deal breaker, and needing to cut ties and move on doesn't mean that that person doesn't deserve the good things that come from a better relationship. That showing emotion makes you weak, especially men. That just because someone is trying to help doesn't mean you can't tell them to stop. Edit. Thanks for all the awards, kind stranger. If I never admit that I am wrong or that I frocked up, then I am never wrong and have never frocked up. Admitting that you are wrong is not a weakness or character flaw. Being wrong is something everyone does quite regularly. Except for me, of course. A life without children is empty and worthless. I am confident that I would be a terrible parent, and know it won't change, and know my life will not suffer because of it. It is better to have that insight and avoid parenthood that have kids you resent, mistreat, or are unprepared for. Something I notice in the gym is the no pain, no gain mentality is rampant. It is good to feel soreness and tightness after and during your workout, but working yourself to pain hinders your progress immensely. CrossFit takes this to an extreme, encouraging people to work out until total failure, which can result in severe injury. Working out shouldn't be painful. One wrong tear and you're toast. That if you don't like something, like a movie or video game, it means it's bad. Come on people, grow up already. Example. I think The Revenant is a fantastic movie, but I hate it because I find it terribly boring and I would never watch it again. But the cinematography and production is drop dead gorgeous. The idea that resting is lazy. Self-care is a somewhat new concept to most people, and humans suck at it. We focus on things that aren't biologically sound, like dieting, exercising to failure, or working 80 hours a week, and totally ignore what we actually makes sense in regards to being healthier and more fulfilled. That we always need to be positive. I've known some people that seemed almost afraid of negativity. There are days where it can't be helped. There's people where it's always present. It's healthy to be somewhat pessimistic or cynical in some matters. Not everything can be spun in a positive way, and showering it with positive thinking feels disingenuous. Saying, "No offense," before saying something offensive won't automatically make your comment less offensive. Life is not often zero-sum. Winning does not have to come at the expense of someone else losing. I think people need to start recognizing when win-win situations are available, and pursue them more vigorously. Defining people by their jobs. The 40-hour workweek. Using automation to hurt instead of help. Bootlicking to bosses who do not and will not care about you. The productivity-centric social expectations. The complainer is always wrong. If you aren't a criminal, you don't need to worry about the cops. A mistake means I'm a bad person. How can you learn from mistakes if you can't recognize it? You make them. Nobody is interested in having a relationship with me, and that definitely means there's a problem with the sixes I'm interested in as a whole. Or, I haven't found a good relationship yet, and that means I will never find one. Bad fanbase equals bad show. Because I frocked up in life, it is easier to drown in the guilt than let it change me and learn to swim. When I was a kid, we didn't have all this. Car seats, allergy awareness, flu vaccines, school social workers, inclusion-based education, therapy, anti-bullying effort, and so on. And we were just fine. 10 years working in mental tells me that you are not. Avoiding using the word black to describe the color of a black person's skin when in non-volatile context. Customer complaining about me. Yes, that one guy made my food wrong. Manager. Who? Customer. The darker one? Using a small percentage of one group's behavior and extrapolating that out to represent everyone. Example 1. 35 people out of the 335 people on welfare abused the system. That's it, it's a scam, we need to get rid of it. Example 2. 3 babies had to be flown across country for medical treatment. Every crying baby on an airplane is a life or death situation. You can't judge the parents. Just because a few people did something negative doesn't mean every single person is going to do the same thing. Men can't get raped. If I tailgate the person on front of me, they'll go faster. What a great mentality to have if you want to rear-end someone. Anything weird or different is automatically bad. The teenagers need to act like adults when they are treated like children. Anything slightly feminine a guy does is gay. People saying, "I'm sorry," for something they did to you, when they're obviously not, and expecting us to give a frock. The customer is always right. Infuriating for those in retail, food service, etc. That when a family member is shitty to you, toxic, you're just supposed to put up with it because they're family. Well, you only have one mom. What would happen if she died in a car accident tomorrow? Then how would you feel? That logic is bullshit. Men are all about reason. Women are all about emotion. If we do not agree politically, then you are an enemy that needs to be destroyed. Musicians, actors, athletes are so good because they are so talented, instead of acknowledging the hard work they put into it every day. Parents believing they know what's best for a child just because they've been on this planet longer than you have. You know, sometimes kids will experience something that those governing adults haven't. And the kid has something legitimate to say and should be listened to. Just because your body works a bit worse than mine because you've used it for longer means jack frockin' sit when I'm suicidal and you won't listen to my issues because I've got my feelings wrong. Edit. If you like this idea, I have many more that I would like to talk about. Looking to start a hedonist cult as well, low-key sue. Men shouldn't cook. My BF's dad seems to believe this, so it's sorta resulted in nobody in the house cooking because mom's refusing to since dad won't, and BF does a lot of double shifts at work so he can't, and when he's not at work there's no groceries in the house to cook with because nobody else cooks. I'll do it tomorrow. If you're on time, you're late. You have to respect everyone's opinions. I feel there's a key distinction needed here. You should respect someone's right to have a differing opinion, but the opinion itself should be given whatever respect it deserves. That dropping out of college is the worst thing a student can do. The modern opinion culture. Opinions seem to be taken above fact these days. Anti-vax. Black people to other black people, telling them why they are acting white for speaking English properly. Cleaning your own house is a woman's job. Do some dishes, man. It's your house too. Make it look nice. This person has a different worldview, political opinion than me, so now I must treat them as subhuman. You can treat others with respect without agreeing with them. And if the other person is being particularly egregious, just excuse yourself politely and get on with your day. That I owe an employer everything just because they employ me.